someone with just walking. And the hills have eyes on my side of town. Yeah, that's the reason you keep on putting me down. And you say that I can't love us enough for the both of us, for both of us. I've been watching us turn into dust and fall out of love.
Tell me why these niggas on my dick. They say you hate me, but they pumping on my shit. Gotta get a bag, being broke don't make no sense. Yeah, I got them nuts, that's why I won't be a lip. Yeah, head knocked out on my rock star shit. Whoa, just stop out, you ain't real like that. Head knocked out on my rock star shit. Just stop, oh, you ain't real like that. Got my name all up in their mouth, yeah, they like to talk. See me all up in their history, cause they like to stalk. You can't step up, little boy, you can't ride this ain't a toy. You sit up there, act the part, see right through, I can't ignore. Whoa, 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 shit get low, low, low. Niggas moving weird, I can't trust no more. I ain't moving fair, I just float over hoes. Oh, switching up like gears just to ride on this road. Tell me why these niggas on my dick. They say you hate me, but they pumping on my shit. Gotta get a bag, being broke don't make no sense. Yeah, I got them knots, that's why I won't be the lip. Yeah, head knocked out on my rock star shit. Whoa, just stop out, you ain't real like that. Head knocked out on my rock star shit. Just stop, oh, you ain't real like that.
Hey, tell me why these bitches on my dick and these niggas hate. I still would hit a lick, but got them knots like a fig hate. Yeah, bitch, I'm walking down with that hammer just like Triple H. I caught her up in traffic, photo pull up just like Triple H. Like, whoa, 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 let that fofo glow. This shit over, that boy sober, he won't know more smoke. Bitch, I'm riding with 2 sticks, but I don't roll no fucking boat. Like, yeah, I'm trying to get you fixed, but I'ma go for fucking broke.
Hey, tell me why these niggas on my dick. They say you hate me, but they pumping on my shit. Gotta get a bag, being broke don't make no sense. Yeah, I got them knots, that's why I won't be the lip. Yeah, head knocked out on my rock star shit. Whoa, just stop out, you ain't real like that. Head knocked out on my rock star shit. Just stop, oh, you ain't real like that. Yeah, they like to talk, cause they like to stop. Little boy, ain't a talk. Low, low, low,
Welcome everyone to another RSCast where we're recapping last week and looking ahead for this week. I am Tevs and I'm joined here, of course again, by Buddha and Kingsman. Well guys, how are you doing?
Doing great. We're back here again. Obviously, no Potter on the host on the desk this week, but it's fine. We've got Tavish the GOAT to replace him for this week. So, thank you again for Tavish for stepping in. But Kingsman, how you been doing?
Of course, brilliant as always, but ready to recap what's been another week of RSC results. And well, I'm sure we'll get into the reason why Potter isn't here later on in the stream.
Yeah, there's only one way to find out, and let's get in right ahead. Prospect first, and let's take a look at Glaciers. Buddha, I think I can give this one to you.
Yes, you can. So the team who's been dominating week in and week out, they continue to do so. With a 6-2 week, they got a 3-1 onto Serene Tai Show, and also a 3-1 onto Tartarus. Obviously, you expect 2 wins here, maybe even a push to a sweep, but they're still continuing the wins, so that is all that matters for Rogue there. Then we've got Fearless Echo going 6-2 as well. They get a good matchup against Jabatus, but that will end out in a draw going 2-2. And then they get a 4-0 sweep onto Terra, and this was expected to be a close series, but it was a plus 16 goal difference for Fearless Echo, which is, I was surprised myself. And then just to talk about Terra here, they were a top 4 team going into this week, going 0-8. They got swept by Obscurity, giving Obscurity their first win of this season. We'll see how that shakes the standings up, but and obviously they're 0-4 against Fearless Echo as well. I do believe Terra, they did play their sub against Obscurity, but still, you'd kind of expect a couple of games taken there.
Yeah, Terra definitely not having a very strong week. Maybe they're still recovering from that Christmas break a couple weeks ago. Who knows, hopefully they can turn it around. But let's take a look at the Ignis side of the prospect.
And yes, well, another team who are sweeping everyone off their feet is Limousine. They get a sweep onto Cardinals. Big result there, pushes them further away from Cardinals. And well, they get a draw onto Newborn. That was first versus second. So a draw, both teams will be happy. And as we'll see in the table, Limousine, they do stay undefeated. And on the other hand, we also have a team going 0-8 in Trickery. They get swept by Anubis and get swept in Caro. Very strong Garo side managed to get a 7-1 and a 5-3 in that series to really hype up their goal difference. And a few draws across the board. Obviously, you have Mike Faction and Parasite as well. Both teams then losing their next games. So this just shows, and well, actually, I'll let the league table speak for itself.
Yeah, definitely a lot of sweeps here on the Ignis side. And afterwards, like you guys already mentioned, the standings must be changing a little bit. And we're going to take a look at Glaciers. Buddha, how did the standings shake up?
Well, in first place, Rogue, the only team to win both series in their week. They're going to be up top first with 28 wins, and then in second place is... Hold on a minute. I think we'll have a graphic error here for the standings, so I will go off the database. In second, it will be Fearless Echo. That will be on 27. And then in third, we'll have Jabatus on 26. And then in the fourth spot, we're going to have Terra. Despite going 0-8, they're still going to remain in that top 4 on 21 wins. And then we'll have Serene Tai Show in fifth. They'll be on 19 wins for themselves. And Dwarfs will be in that final playing spot in sixth on 18 wins with their draw and a win in their week. And then Parmis in seventh, still have not won a series with 7 draws on 17 wins, but they're going to be tied in that spot with Tartarus, who will take that 8th spot on 17 wins with them. Then in 9th, they get their first victory, moving up a spot, Obscurity on 14 wins, and in 10th spot respectively with 6 draws is going to be Kindling, but still failing to find their first series win.
Yeah, definitely. The thing I'm more confused about is that Terra is still top 4 teams, even going 0-8 in this last week. Hopefully they can turn it around. But let's take a look at the Ignis side with Kingsman.
Yes, and here we are. We do have the correct standings here, so maybe just a graphics error. But, well, Limousine, 31 out of 40 wins, still unbeaten. 6-4, what a record. And then note behind them, 3 games behind, is Newborn. And even though Cardinals got swept by Limousine, they stay 2 series behind the first place. So Limousine really making a runaway here. Cardinals potentially looking out of it. Potentially for the top 2, they're going to have a big week. But behind them, also chasing them, will be Hot Metal and Micah Faction. both not having the strongest week, so they remain 4th and 5th. But on the uprise, they didn't have a very good start to the season, but Alta and Caro both push up 19 and 18 wins, 6 and 7, real battle for that final top 6 spot. And then below them, just a series below, you have Parasite and Anubis. Anubis obviously got that good result onto, I believe it was Trickery this week. So it allows them to push up, but Trickery going 0 and 8 leaves them a whole 9 games out of the playoffs. So week 5 is the table's starting to divide up here.
Yeah, and I'm getting a little bit of flashbacks to last season where Limousine was also one of the top teams, if not the top team in their conference. Looking curious to see if they can pull it off. And like you said, a little bit of a divide there in the middle. But let's take a look at what's going to happen here in week number 6. And Buddha, I'm going to start with you. What matches are you most looking forward to here in the Glaciers Conference?
Well, to start it off, we've got today's game. We've got Rogue versus Kindling. Obviously not one of the ones to watch, but that is a game that's happening today. Rogue looking to, hold on to that first spot. But other than that, we don't have too many fixtures that really affect the midfield or kind of top clashes. It's quite heavy for top versus bottom, but there is a few that I've got to pick out. We've got Parmis going up against Tartarus. They're going to be fighting for around that play-in spot, and again, it's Parmis, looking for their first series win. They keep getting draws. They've got to find a way to win out those single games for the win. And then I think this is a massive week for Terra. They go 0 and 8. Yes, they're a top 4 team, and their 2 matchups is Dwarfs and Kindling. But Dwarfs is a team on the rise, and Kindling, obviously, they're looking for their win as well. And with Terra's recent performance, we could maybe see Kindling have an opportunity. So for Terra here, this is a big week for them to bounce back and prove themselves of why they're in that top 4.
Those are definitely some matches to look forward to. And let's take a look at the Ignis side. Kingsman, what matches did you pick?
Well, I mean, we have 3 games today. Caro Cardinals. That is a big mid-table battle. Obviously, Cardinals in 7th, they have won their last 4 games. They're on a real run of good form, and Cardinals coming off getting swept last week. It's a big contest for them to see whether they pick up. But then also tonight, you have Anubis Parasite. 9th versus 8th, so they'll both be looking to push away from Trickery. And Caro, they play Newborn again. So Caro could, if they get 2 very good results here, it will prove them as a top team. But more mid-table, you have Hot Metal versus Micah Faction, 4th versus 5th. Micah Faction not won a game in forever, it might seem like. And Hot Metal, well, they've had their ups and downs. But it's all to play for them well. Trickery, obviously they're at the bottom, but they have a huge week in playing Alta and Hot Metal, 2 mid-table teams. So a loss in both of them might see them just slowly slip and slide away from that top 6 spots.
And again, a lot of matches to look forward to, and already 3 matches being played today. So already a little bit of change in the table could be visible after tonight. But that is enough for Prospect. Let's move on towards the next tier, which is Challenger. And first, again, we're going to look at the results for last week. Buddha, what did you see last week?
Well, Serene Yamato, they don't fail to disappoint. It wasn't an 8-0 week, but it was 7-1. They start off with a 4-0 sweep onto Neptunium. What a way to start things off. And then a 3-1 onto a respectable side, Pardus. So for Serene Yamato, this is really a proving week why they're one of those top teams in the Glaciers Conference for Challenger. Then we have Phyllis Delta. They bounce back from 2 losses in week 4. They get a 6-2. They get a 3-1 onto Orcus, and then a 3-1 onto Elves. It's a good week for them to bounce back. But the team that we've really got to pick out here, just like the Prospect situation kind of, Pardus going 2-6. Obviously, they lost 3-1 to Serene Yamato, but also losing 3-1 to Redeem. Redeem is a team who also haven't won all season until this series. So Redeem, they get their first series win of this season. So it's all hats off and credits to them. And for Pardus, they're going to be looking to bounce back just like some other teams. But in the Glaciers, we only see 2 sweeps and not too many draws.
Yeah, it's definitely notable that there's a lot of 3-1 results. And for Redeem to get their first series win here in week number 5, that is huge. Hoping they can use that momentum for the rest of the league. But now let's take a look at Ignis and Kingsman. What can you tell me?
Well, Mischief, they're looking to play. They get a 4-0 onto Parthenay. Huge result there. Even though Parthenay are a bottom side, getting those sweeps will do bits for them in the league table. Also getting a result onto Crusaders. So they're not dropping too many games here, but also another sweep for Feather onto Primordial. And they also get a draw with Apprentices. So first to second, we've seen a lot of draws. Obviously that sweep onto Primordial. Obviously, once again, Primordial not that high up the table, but it is a big result. It will affect them massively in the league table, as we will see. But Primordial did manage to bounce back with a 3-1 week. But also, one team I would like to pick out is Shrine. Even though their results aren't the best, a 5-3 week, they get a win onto Masai, who were top, near the top even, going into week 5. And they get a draw onto Kadeho, another mid-table side. So a few changes in that roster, and suddenly they're looking like they could compete in the mid-table here.
Well, a lot of interesting results. A lot of wins in Glacies, a lot of draws in Ignis. Let's take a look at the standings, how things have changed around. And first, we're gonna start with Glacies.
So up top, it is going to be Serene Yamato. That's 7-1 week, giving them a 4-win lead onto second, which is going to be Oracles on 25 wins, tied up there with Elves. Elves dropping them into third, so they're tied on 25. Going to be looking to fight for that top 2 spot, but in fourth, we're going to see Eclipse. They do rise up into that position onto 22 wins. Despite a 2-6 week for Pardus, they will remain in that 5th spot, so still in the top half of the table, but not so comfortable. 21 wins, tied with Fearless Delta, who dropped into 6th place alongside on the same wins as Pardus. And then Orcus, we're going to see them rise up into 7th on 20 wins. We see the top 7 looking to battle out here, especially towards kind of 4th to 7th here. But 8th place Neptunium, this is where we start to see the gap. 14 wins. 6 wins to just even catch on to 7th there. So Neptunium, they've got some big weeks to catch up on. And Spark in 9th place, they'll drop down there on 13 wins, looking to play catch up as well. And Redeem, they may have got their first series win, but the question is, was it a little too late, a little too soon? But they will remain in that 10th spot, maybe looking to make history here.
Yeah, you're definitely looking at Redeem if they can win a little bit more. Maybe finally move out of that bottom spot. But those are the Glacies standings. So let's take a look at how Ignis standings have changed. And Kingsman, did they change?
They did. A lot. Feather, they're looking to challenge Limousine as the best team in form. 30-4 out of 40 wins. They are on a roll. And another team, unbeaten. What a run. And Mischiefs, after that 7-1 week, they will climb above Apprentices. 27 wins, still 3 off the top, but it's looking good for them. Apprentices third. They might be set. They're 7 games ahead of 4th. It's a real scrap for this top 3. And, well, 26 wins is nothing to laugh about. And then 4th, you have Kadeho on 19. Obviously, not having the greatest of weeks, but they are still in 4th place. And Masai and Nezuko gang, 5th and 6th, tied on 18. And another tie, Primordial and Shrine. I've talked about Shrine, up and coming. That a bit like Buddha and Tigris, this is my dark horse for this tier. They could really make a push up the table here. I've seen brilliant things for them. They are unbeaten, at least in their last 5. And, well, it's looking very good for them. And then 1 game behind them is Crusaders, and then behind them is Parthenay. Both of them getting beaten by Mischief this week, but it's not over yet.
No, it's definitely a lot closer here than in the Glacies conference. But, you know, with all these changes, let's take a look at the fixtures for the coming week. Maybe there will be a lot of interesting matchups happening. And I know, but you've picked out some spicy matchups.
Oh, of course. You know, I'm going to pick them out for you. But, you know, we'll start off with today's matchups. Obviously, Redeem, they got their first series win. But they're going to be playing a tough side going by the name of Oracles. So we'll see how they face up on that matchup. But the series that I've picked out to watch out for this week. First of all, starting off with Fearless Delta versus Eclipse. That is a bigger series to kind of shift up the standings there in the midfield of the standings. And then we've got Spark going up against Neptunium. That's a real big fight. They're both in that 9th and 8th spot. And they both have to, you know, find really good winning weeks to even have a chance of playing. So whoever wins that series is going to have that advantage. But we've also got Pardus. They will go up against Orcus. That's going to be a massive series there. Obviously, Pardus not having the best week. And obviously, Orcus, it's a respectable side. They can give a challenge in the Challenger tier. So that'll be a good matchup. And the final one I picked out is Serene Yamato going up against Elves. Elves, they've been a really good dominant team. Obviously, probably a few results that they've not been happy with, but they're still a strong side, and they're going against Serene Yamato. I think this is really going to be a really good fight to see who is going to be that top dog and probably the most, preferable team going into playoffs as we get there.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of spicy matchup, and hopefully we can see some of them on stream this week. But, you pick a lot of spicy ones in Glacies, but I know Kingsman has picked a couple spicy ones in Ignis as well.
I talked about Shrine as my up-and-coming team, right? They have a massive week. Apprentices, third. Feather, first. Is Shrine good enough? Well, this week's your test. And, Apprentices' other game is also Crusaders, so they have 2 bottom-table teams, but they are in need of results. Before Christmas, they looked unstoppable. After, they haven't been the same. Obviously, they've regained last week from a week 4, which I'm pretty sure they'll want to forget. But never mind. And also, down the bottom, you have Kadeho Primordial. Obviously, 2 games splitting the teams up, but anything could happen along this midfield. And, Mischief, they have another pretty nice week, actually. They play 6th and 7th in Nezuko Gang and Primordial, but it's games they must take. They cannot be dropping games if they want to keep up with Apprentices. Not Apprentices, they're above Apprentices. Keep up with Feather. And, Feather, they have some work to do if they want to keep their lead at the top.
And again, a lot of spicy matchup. Definitely Feather and Mischief having an interesting week here to see who of the 2 will run to the top. But that is it for Challenger, and we're going to move on to Rival. And first, again, the results for the past week. Let's start again in the Glacies Conference. And the results are coming in, but I already see 2 draws, Buddha.
Yeah, draws, you kind of like to see it, depending on whose side it's going for. But, to start it off, Norns, they go 7-1, a great week for them. They get that 4-0 sweep onto Fearless Charlie. And just to continue the winning streak, they get a 3-1 as well onto Resolve. Resolve, more of an expected win, but still a win is a win. That's all that matters. Maybe they wanted an 8-0 there. I would agree to that personally, but a good week for them. Nightfall going 6-2 despite playing Ember. They get a 2-2 onto Ember. For the people that don't know, these 2 teams have been fighting up the top all season long, and the fact that they're still drawing against each other, it just shows how much of a fight those 2 teams are. But in their second series, they got a 4-0 sweep onto Uranum, who are a lower-sided team, but 4-0 sweeps rarely matter when it comes to the standings. And obviously, the final team I picked out was Ember. They played Nightfall with that 2-2 as mentioned, but they got their 3-1 victory as well onto Mystics, making them go with a 5-3 week. So, your top teams play against each other, and they both still go positive in their weeks.
Yeah, that is just insane to think about it. Even though top teams, like you said, are facing off, still positive in the end. That is just shows how good these teams actually are. And, Kingsman, do we have the same result in the Ignis Conference?
We do, and Disorder, they thought start of the season they wasn't good enough. Get rid of Mash, get rid of Aiko, bring in Mox and Gecko, and they go 7-1. They get a 4-0 sweep onto Yoruba, 3rd place going into this week. They were 10th going into this week. And also, the reason Potter wasn't here, he got beat. 3-1, his first loss of the season. He's off crying in a corner about it. But Aiko not able to beat her former team in Disorder. Massive week for them as they look to climb. And potentially showing the other teams, we're here to play now. We are here to put up a fight and get close to the top. But other sweeps, you had Montbelliard getting a 4-0 onto Sanctum, and Sentinels 4-0ing Raju. As Sanctum did end up winning 1-7. Both teams got swept in Sanctum Raju matchup, but Raju able to take the 3-1 back onto them. And a lot of bottom table teams getting results in the mid and top table teams. So, what will the table say? Will it be close, or will it still be spread out?
Yeah, and with that, we're gonna take a look, but before we see the Ignis results first, we're gonna look at Glacies. Buddha, what can you tell me?
Well, Ember and Nightfall, they clash against each other, but they're both still going to remain in first and second. Ember with 27 and Nightfall with 26. Only one win separating them both. But Onka, they will climb up into third on 25 wins. But they do have an Erebos up their side. They're going to be fourth on 25 wins. And a three-way tie with Norns, who will remain in fifth, but with a really good week to really, well, as you can see, we now see separation. Serene Meiji, they get a 5-3 week, climbing up into sixth, 18 wins. There is a 7-win gap for sixth to fifth. And now you start to question, for all of these teams looking for that play-in spot, there's not much to take unless there's some massive, massive results. But in seventh place, we're going to see Mystics on 16 alongside the Fearless Charlie, who go down a spot on 16 alongside with them. And then in ninth place, we're going to see Euronum on 14. And Resolve, they found a series win in the season, but it's just not enough to climb up from 10th on 8 wins. Probably going to be over for the season unless a miracle happens.
Yeah, a miracle might be needed, but the thing I'm more wondrous about is that you have 3 teams basically in third place, and either one can be the gatekeeper for the rest of the season. So curious how week 6, 7, and 8 will look. But now, Kingsman, we're moving to you. What happened in the Ignis standings?
Well, Potter losing a game. He is not unbeaten anymore. He does not get to flex that on us every week, but he does still get to say that he is first place. He gets first with 28 wins, and Sentinels, they are second place with 24. And then Yoruba, obviously getting swept, will leave them in third with 21 wins, tied with Ash, who are on the uprise, and then one game behind Mirage and Montbéliard. One game splits third and sixth. Then 2 games behind, you have Raju falling down, and well, the risers of this week, Disorder, they shock, I think, the whole of the rival tier, and they move up into 8th, and then leaving Journeyman on 16, and Sanctum still very close, but with a bit of work to do.
Yeah, and Ignis is definitely a lot closer compared to the Glaciers conference. And now let's take a look at the fixtures. Maybe we can see a little bit of change in the Glaciers or in the Ignis conference, depending on the week 6 matchups. And Buddha, are there any really good matchups here that could turn the table?
I mean, of course. There's always something juicy to look out for week by week. But to start it off, we're going to see Euronum go up against Mystics. These are both teams, if they want a play-in spot, this is a series that needs to be taken very, very seriously out of them all. The winner of this is probably going to be, looking to set themselves up for it. But then we also got Onka going up against Norns. These are 2 teams that are really fighting for those top spots. So that's going to be a massive series for either side. And then these are the biggest matchups, in my opinion. Serene and Meiji, they play a crucial part this week. They play Norns and Erebos. They're playing, I believe, 5th and 4th, with Serene Meiji being in 6th, being 7 games behind 5th place. So for Serene Meiji here, if they lose both series, that gap is going to be massive. But Serene Meiji, they can get some results that it's going to give hope for the teams around that 7th and 8th and 9th mark.
Yeah, definitely an interesting week for Serene. Because if they win, they could close the gap between them and this 5th spot. But if they lose, then everyone underneath them has a chance to move up. And Kingsman, what is going to be happening in Ignis?
Well, I've talked about Disorder. They have Sentinels. Second place, are they going to bring another shocker? And they also have Sanctum, so they really could need to move away there. But towards the top of the table, you have Arena Tribe playing Ash and Mirage. 4th and 5th, they need to get games. After unexpectedly losing to Disorder, they need to pick games back up here. And obviously, Yoruba, they need to look to regain. They play Ash as well, so Ash have a huge week. Yoruba also play Journeyman. So all around the board, there are lots of games in the mid-table and lower versus upper that could shock people this week. But once again, Disorder are the team to keep your eye out on.
Yeah, and I'm already curious to RSCast next week to see if Disorder again has a miracle matchup. But that is it for Rival. We're gonna be moving on to Elite. And first again, the results. And Glaciers, I see a sweep in the first rule. Buddha, what happened here?
I already heard the pain in Kingsman's voice quietly in the background. He knows what's coming. But we will get there soon. But to start it off, Fearless Bravo with a 6-2 week. The first result, 2-2 onto Darkness. And, I just want to talk about Darkness for a little bit here with their new roster coming in. I believe it's Renko, Hex Obsidian, Menorca, and obviously Cephik on the bench. This is actually a respectable roster. They've been getting some good results. I mean, a 2-2 onto Bravo, that's a way to go for them in their perspective. So it's a good result. But Bravo also get a 4-0 sweep on stream versus Resonant, looking very, very good if they can continue that performance. But enough about my own team. Let's go on to Thanatos. They have a really, really good week, especially for Kingsman. They start off with a 2-2 onto Saturnia, and then to get to that 6-2, they get a 4-0 sweep onto Holdra. Now, I'll let Holder off a little bit. Obviously, it's up to Kingsman if he makes it public, but I know they had a little bit of issues on the roster. But still, maybe you expect at least a game or two, especially for the position that they've been in all season long. But the final team I'm going to talk about is Darkness with their overall performance. Obviously, the draw onto Bravo, but then getting a sweep onto my dark horse that I named, but maybe not anymore at this point. They 4-0 sweep Tigris. For Tigris, I don't know. They just can't find games. They can't find results. I mean, I say that, but they 2-2 profit. So maybe the Dark Horse stays alive. But Darkness with a 6-2 week, respectable and tippable for the new roster.
Yeah, Darkness definitely having a really good week. And the standing is going to be interesting with their results. And, Kingsman, you may not have had a really good week in the Glacies conference. But what did you think of the results in the Ignis conference?
Ah, lovely. Right. Anarchy, talking about lovely. Anarchy, 8-0, not dropping a single game. What a result for them. Another Symbiotes team pulling out the stakes here. So the franchise standings really going to shift here. But another big result, Scorch sweeping Vanguards. Obviously, Vanguard's top table, Scorch bottom of the table. Big result for them there, but Vanguard's also sweeping Deception. So there's sweeps all over the place. But Mega Man Cult, new roster, they do lose to Temple, another bottom table team, but they also do get a win onto Bladesmiths, a team that, as we look at the table, slowly decaying. But it's all shaping up in Elite this season. What can I say? I've played in it long enough.
Yeah, and if I count really fast, I see 9 sweeps total here in the Elite tier, so that has to change the table, right? But can you tell me if it changes the table in the Glacies conference?
Oh, of course. Fearless Bravo, they're going to rise up into first with 26 wins, but only one game behind them is going to be Resonant on 25. So, it's still a very, very tough gap. But Profits, they're going to stay in that third place spot on 24 with 7 draws. But the credits to Profits, they're unbeaten. They're the only team in Glacies to not lose a series, the reason why they're in that top 3. And at Thanatos, they remain in 4th on 23 wins. And Holdra, well, with their week that they have, they'll remain in 5th on 22, but not too far to climb up if they want, if that's something they want to do. And then Blaze, they're going to climb up into that top 6 half, 6th place for them, 21 wins. They'll get themselves onto that positive goal difference as well. As Saturnia, they will be the team to drop down out of the play-in spot into 7th on 18 wins, pretty much a win just to get back into that 6th spot, just a tie for it. But Tigris, they get one good result, but it wasn't enough to move anywhere. They'll remain 8th on 15. And Darkness, although they had a great week, they were so far behind on wins that they only moves them up to 9th spot. They've got to do that consistently if they want to be a contending team going into play-ins or playoffs. As Serena Zucchi in that 10th spot on 12.
Yeah, and you talked about Darkness, but they're closer now to moving to that 8th and 7th spot. So looking forward to the Darkness roster if they can keep this up. But then again, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th and 6th spot all just separated by 1 win. So that's gonna be interesting how the week 6 results will change that table. But now, Kingsman, let's take a look at the Ignis standings.
Well, Anarchy, they go shooting off to the stars. They take over Vanguard as first place. 28 wins. That's Vanguard's not out of it yet. They're on 26. Zulu, they climb up to 3rd. They pinch the spot off Mega Man Colt. 23 and 22. But Embry, they're 20th. And I'm talking about teams decaying in 6th and 7th. Anju and Bladesmith. Anju were at the top at some point, and Bladesmith, they were near the top at some point, but slowly as the season progresses, they are falling faster than rocks down a mountain. But one game behind them is Scorch. They had a brilliant week. They got 2 wins this week, so they propel up the table. And Temple got their first win this week. But it's only enough to move them up above Deception, who continue to take L's at the bottom of the table.
And Scourge doing a little bit the same as Dog is doing in the Glaciers Conference. They're moving closer to joining the rest of the pack. So Scourge in Ignis is also going to be an interesting one to pay attention to. But let's take a look at the fixtures for week 9. Start with you in the Glaciers Conference.
Well, to start off, we've got 2 games happening today. Fearless Bravo against Profits, which is in 29 minutes. I'll be watching that live whilst on the RSCast. So, if you hear maybe good reactions or bad reactions, you're going to know why. But we've also got Resident going up against Saturnia. I believe it's at the same time as well. So, 2 massive games. Resident looking to come back. And obviously, Profits and Bravo is pretty much who wins that series is going to be looking to have that number 1 spot. The other fixtures that I've picked out. We've got Resonant going up against Thanatos as well. Obviously, Resonant, they're still a top table team. Yes, they're coming off a loss, but they're still that top-sided team. And Thanatos coming off a pretty decent week for themselves. So that's going to be a big series to watch. And then Holdra, I got to say, both of their series are big. Obviously, I know they're playing Saturnia and Tigris. They are below them in the standings, but, this is a bounce-back week. They got to regain. If they could just, go positive, recollect that mental as a team, they will be looking fine for the rest of the season, I believe. So we'll see how they do there. But we've also got Darkness going up against Serene Azuchi. Obviously, this is your kind of bottom-table matchup, but if I've got to be honest, I'm kind of backing Darkness to maybe get a 4-0 sweep here. I think they're really going to start bouncing back. And then the final one I picked up was Blaze going up against Tigris. Tigris, I'll still stick to my dark horse. I can't back out now. I believe they might do something. But Blaze, it's just one of those mid-table teams. They can take games on the top teams, but we've just not seen a lot of winning from them.
Yeah, a lot of interesting matchups happening this week. Kingsman, what is going to be happening in the Ignis Conference?
Well, obviously, Anarchy, they come off an 8-0, but they have Bladesmiths and Zulu. Both sides towards the top end and bottom end of play-ins. So Zulu going to be pushing forward, and Bladesmiths wanting to secure top 6. But one thing I noticed, obviously, Anju in 6th place, they play Vanguards at the top, and Temple, who are coming off their first win. So they need a massive bounce back. They haven't won this week. They got a loss and a draw. So they're going to really need to push back. With Temple, they also have Embry. So they play 5th and 6th. So this week really is going to decide if that win was a fluke or they are really going to start pushing up. But one team I talked about, Fluke, Scorch. They get 2 wins this week. They have Deception at the bottom, which should be another win for them. And Megumin Colt, the challenge for them, I believe. And, well, if they win that, they're going to be looking very nicely towards top 6, but who knows, anything can happen.
Yes, that is true. Anything can happen. Maybe Scorch has a good week, maybe Scorch has a bad week. We'll find out at next Monday at the new RSCast. But now we're going to another tier. We're going to Master. And first up, the results, as always. Buddha, what are the Glaciers results?
Well, Messiah's had a really good week going 7-1. They got a 4-0 onto Leo. Obviously, Leo not really been having the best season, but still a 4-0 sweep is what you want to see. And then they also get a 3-1 onto Iovi, so that's a good result for them. A 7-1 week, you cannot complain. And we've got Hades as well. They go 6-2 for themselves. They get a 4-0 sweep onto Radiant, and then a 2-2 onto Abyss, which is, that's a decent and fair result. Both of these teams are kind of fighting around in the standings pretty much all season long, so you do expect a draw there. And then we've got to talk about Leo. This is a team who just can't find anything in the season. They go 1-7 this week in a matchup of a week where you kind of expect them to go neutral or maybe pushing positive if there is any hope for them to stay alive for play-ins, but obviously getting swept by Messias and then losing 3-1 as well to Radiant. But that's good for Radiant there, as obviously losing 4-0. They get at least a victory out of something. And as painful it is to say, I was hyped that Fierce Alpha finally got a series win onto Draugr, but it just gets defeated by that we got swept by Ovi. So it kind of hurts there. But Ovi, finding a sweep, that's good for them with their new roster as well. So maybe they're looking to make something happen and do some damage.
Yeah, so a lot of interesting results. Teams winning and losing in the same week. Kingsman, do we see the same in Ignis, or are these completely different results?
Well, Tavish, we only see one sweep, and it's Severance onto Heck. But once again, I can't stress this enough. It's another Symbiotes team. I feel like I can't get enough of them. What a week as a franchise. I wish I could do some mental maths in my head and figure out what they went this week, because, oh my goodness, they must go insane. But they get a sweep onto Heck and a 3-1 onto Fenrir. Huge week for them. Obviously, that's one of the teams pushing more towards the top. And last time I spoke, there was only a few games separating 2nd through 9th. So I'd be interested to see how that table steps up. But obviously, Rias Legion, they were a strong team, but they get beaten by Infinity and a draw with Haven. Obviously, all the draws just show how close it is. And well, the league table will show us in a minute that, oh my goodness, this might be the closest conference we've seen yet.
Well, now I'm just interested in those standings. So, let's move to the standings. And first up, we have Glacies and Buddha. How did the table change?
Well, Draugr, they're going to remain at the top at 28 wins. Obviously, the lead has dropped down a little bit, but it's still 3 wins ahead of Hades, who climb up into 2nd on 25 wins. But they're going to be tied up there with Inferno, who will drop down a position on the 25 with Hades, with the same goal difference as well. Really going to be a fight for a battle for that 2nd spot there. But Messias, they go 7-1, and they still drop down into 4th on 23 wins. Maybe it was the 8-0 that was needed. I mean, even if they're 8-0, they'll still be down in 4th. So Hades Inferno just doing their job. Abyss, they'll climb up into 5th with 22 wins. And we'll see Fierce Alpha climb up to 6th as well on 19. But it's not safe. You got Radiant. They may drop down a position into 7th, but they're going to be tied for that play-in spot on 19 wins and only shortly behind Iovi. They may drop down, but it's a new roster. They got a good one result, so maybe they're looking to have a consistent week from here. They're going to be there on 17. Serenara in 9th with 14 wins, and then Leo we're going to still see at the bottom on 8 wins. Will we see them get to double digit? Just for my sake, I'm hoping they don't get any more games, so the Fierce Alpha record of the worst record goes away. I need that to happen. Andre, hook me up, okay?
Well, let's pray for you that it won't happen. But maybe you need to shove a little bit of money to Andre. But now, Kingsman, you were talking about the Ignis standings. Fire away. Tell me how everything has changed.
Well, obviously, we're still at a scrap, and I said how close it was. Phoenix, they are on a bit of a breakaway. 6 wins, and they clear Dogon and Severance. 22-22. Also, Infinity, 22. They drop down, though, as Severance and Dogon secure the top 3. But 1 game behind Infinity is Haven. And 1 game behind them, Rias Legion. 1 game behind them, Fenrir. You see what I mean, how close it is. 5 games separates 9th and 2nd. That is a tight margin for 7 teams. And then also 5 games separates Illusion and Heck, who are on 12. Obviously 12, 17, 17, 19, 20, 21, and 3 teams on 22. I said this last week, but this week is going to be massive, so we're going to have to see what the fixtures brings.
Yeah, and it's definitely interesting to see a 5-win difference between 9th and 10th, and an 6-win difference between 1st and 2nd place. And of course, we're going to move to the fixtures for week number 6 to see how many spicy matchups are going to be happening in the Ignis Conference. But first, we're going to move to the Glaciers Conference, because, we got to build up the tension a little bit. So, Buddha, how many spicy matchups did you find in the Glaciers Conference?
Well, we have a top 4 matchup. We've got Inferno going up against Messias. That's going to be a pretty big series. Messias coming off a 7-1 week, maybe looking to continue the hot streak. And for Inferno, they've been top 3 all season long. They've been a team giving teams a real hard time. So Inferno looking to maybe do some damage there for themselves, but also going to kind of see around the play-ins to around the 5th spot matchup. Fearless Alpha going up against Abyss. That'd be a good series, especially for Alpha if they want to remain, even just at this point for play-ins. So they're going to be looking to find something there. But we've got Radiant. They'll be going up against Iovi. This is literally a matchup just below the play-in spot. Obviously, it's Radiant who, they've had good weeks, but they've had bad weeks. It's not been a consistent flow of results. And for Iovi, they got 2 series which could really go their way with their new roster. They play Radiant and Leo. And if you're looking at that, Iovi, you're probably expected to go positive, especially going to face up against Leo. And Iovi probably looking to make a run here with their new roster.
Yeah, a lot of interesting matchup there. And definitely around the midfield of the table, that can change a lot. But now, we're going to move to Kingsman Gas for the Ignis Conference. How many matchups can completely change the entire table?
Well, if we're talking about changing the table, I'm pretty sure all of them could. But for everyone's sake at home, let's pick out some of the key ones. Dogan Severance, 22-22. They take second and third, so a big matchup there. And Dogon, well, they also have Gladiators. Gladiators, 2 draws, but they're looking to push for a win. Obviously, Dogon are unbeaten in their last 5. So, they're going to come off a good bit of momentum. Obviously, I always like to talk about a team that could push results their way and could potentially shift it. You could have Heck. Obviously, they're not out of it, but they play Gladiators. Gladiators are going to need to get a 3-1 or a 4-0 to push up. But Heck could be that team to hold them down at the bottom. And obviously, a lot of games in the midfield. Obviously, Reus Legion, they play Illusory, and they also play Fenrir, 7th and 9th. So, every game's crucial, but those are your key ones.
Yeah, a lot of interesting matchups. And definitely for Heck, a chance to move up, but also maybe if they lose, it's going to be very difficult. And now we're going to be moving on to Premier, the top of the top here in the RSC. And first off, the results. Glaciers Conference, not as many results as we've seen in the different tiers, but still some key results. Buddha, what happened here?
Well, to start it off, we've got Panthera Esports. They got a 3-1 victory onto Team Serene, getting their 2nd win for this season. Then we've got Sanctuary, a 4-0 sweep onto Luna Esports. Again, another 2nd win for a team. So Sanctuary and Panthera, a good week for them. But Resistance and Shaman Esports, it results in a 2-2 draw. Shaman were, on a record of 2 wins, and that's it. And they finally get a draw. Still unbeaten for now, but Resistance, they get some result out of it, finding something but a loss. And Solus and Kronos, see, that's not been played yet. That still has to be scheduled. So there is a few games still behind, but I'm sure that'll be a good match, especially as we'll see the standings pretty soon.
Yeah, Solus and Kronos, we'll have to wait for that one. But let's move to the Ignis Conference, where I see 3 sweeps in a blink of an eye. Kingsman, what happened?
Yes. Well, 3 sweeps. Fearless Esports, they can't seem to get enough. Swept, and Wicked Sailors, they're on a run. Centurions also get a sweep onto Oblivion. That was a very good result for them. And Nami Brigade get a sweep on Dogs Gaming. Lots of big results. And Vaiju do manage to pull a game of Boiler Carry. 2 teams at the top, Wicked Sailors and Bola. So pulling that game could be crucial for their season here.
Yeah, it can definitely be crucial for their season. And we're gonna find out. But first, let's take a look at the standings, how everything changed up with that couple sweeps that we just saw. First off, the Glaciers Conference. Buddha, how did the table change?
So Shaman, they'll move up into first. They got a 2-2 draw, but it's enough to hold that top spot at 9 wins. In second place, we're going to see Sanctuary. They're going to hold there with 8. And for Solus, they will drop down. But obviously, they've still got an extra series to play. So they're only 2 games behind second place. So maybe if they can find something in that series in hand, maybe we can see them in that top 2. Panthera Esports, they get a victory, but it's not enough to go up. They will go down into 4th on 6 alongside with Solus. And then the 5th spot would be Luna Esports on 4 wins with that's a chunky negative goal difference. So maybe they need to switch things up in that defensive department. But in sixth spot, it's going to be Resistance. They got their draw as well. But again, they've got a series in hand as well on 3 wins, maybe looking to push up into that top 4 spot with a victory. But Team Serene, they're going to drop down into 7th with 3 wins alongside Resistance. And Kronos, yes, they're 8th spot, but they've only played 1 series. So they've got a couple of series to catch up on. And that's where we're really going to see where will Kronos fall into place in the standings, as we don't really get an accurate measurement for Kronos.
No, it's definitely difficult to see how the standings are going to shape up when one team has only played 1 series. So hopefully they can catch up with the rest of the pack so we can get an accurate standings. But in Ignis, I think more teams have played their amount of series. And how did everything change, Kingsman?
Well, Wicked Sailors and, well, that game proves to be crucial. Wicked Sailors and Bola stay on 10 each. And, well, Nami Brigade getting that sweep, and Centurions, it moves them to 3rd and 4th. But, obviously, Vaiju still have a game in hand with Centurions. Obviously, Oblivion, they stay down there. Fearless Esports, nothing seems to be going their way at the minute. They stay 6th. But Vaiju, obviously, they have a series in hand, but they're on 2 wins. And Ox Gaming, well, they have no series in hand, but they also have 2 wins. 8 game difference when it's one game a week is very big. So, potentially, we're going to need to see massive results for Ox, or they're going to be out of it before we can say cheese.
Yeah, that's gonna for Ox definitely a challenge there. But now let's take a look at the fixtures for the normal league. Would say week number 6, but for Premier it's gonna be week number 4. And first up, the Glaciers Conference.
So to start off, obviously, we've got all these matchups. We've got Shaman Esports versus Solus. That is my, one to pick out to really watch out for. It's actually first place going up against 3rd, but Solus are 3rd with a series in hand. So Shaman really have to get a good result here to hold them down, to, solidify that top spot. So that's the most crucial matchup for this week. But the other games are still big ones to watch out for. We've got Luna Esports going up against Kronos. This is 5th versus 8th. Obviously, Kronos with 2 series in hand. So again, Luna Esports, they've got to play a big role here to keep them down there, as they've got an advantage to catch up on. But Team Serene, they'll go up against Sanctuary. Obviously, still needs to be scheduled. But this is going to be a tough series for Team Serene. They're down in that 7th spot, and Sanctuary, they're in that 2nd place. They've lost a series, but they've won 2. So Sanctuary are going to be looking to hopefully hold on with that fight with Shaman Esports. But finally, to still be scheduled as well, Panthera Esports up against Resistance. This will be a good series to watch as well. Panthera are in that spot to hold. They're in that playoff spot to kind of benchmark it and see which teams they can keep out. And obviously Resistance with a series in hand, with a win, could really shake things up.
Yeah, a lot of interesting matchups in the Glaciers Conference. Kingsman, do we also have a lot of interesting matchups in the Ignis Conference?
Well, we only have one scheduled, but Oblivion, Wicked Sailors looking to push on at the top. Mid-table fight in Nami Brigade, Fearless looking to push forward, but Nami Brigade, they come strong, and Bola looking to push clear of Centurions and Wicked Sailors. And well, a fight at the bottom, Vaiju versus Ox Gaming. Vaiju have that series in hand, and they need a result against Ox to push forward. And well, if they do, we might see Ox just in the mud. But we still don't know when that game's going to be, and we don't know where 3 of them's going to be. So hopefully we get an update on that soon.
Yeah, hopefully we get that update soon. Same for the Glaciers Conference, where we still need to see some dates for 2 of the matchups. But those were every individual result. And now we're going to be looking at the franchise standings, because obviously we had 5 tiers of results rolling in. And now, Buddha, I'm going to give it to you. What happened at the bottom half of the standings?
Well, remaining in 20th will be Sanctuary, but they're not behind. They'll be tied there with System of Solaris, who dropped down into 19th. 84 tied there, but in 18th spot it's going to be Illusory with 86, and then Chrome Research in 17th with a 90, but tied with Luna Esports in 16th on that 90 with them. And Team Serene, they'll go up into 15th with 92, but 2 games ahead of them will be Ox Gaming in 14th with 94. And 95, there's going to be Panthera Esports in 13th, Shadow Esports in 12th with 98. Not 100 wins, but close. Ignite Esports in the 11th spot spot. That is your bottom half of the franchise standings. And, well, Kingsman, I know you're going to have a smile on your face for the top half.
Well,
I'm already...
I might... Oh, sorry.
I'm already interested, so please, Kingsman, take it away.
There we go, right. Bit of traffic, and well, I did the maths in my head. 27 and 13 Symbiotes went this week. 17th to 10th. That's what happens when you have a good franchise week. You move up to 10th, and it's well deserved. And they're on 100 wins exactly. Looking very clean there. And well, Shaman Esports, they'll be on 102, pushing up the table, but Visionary falling down onto 105, and Fort Templar, they were near the top at the start, but they've slipped and slided away. They're on 106, same with Waifu Fan Club. They are on the way down as well with 108. But Fearless, they remain in 5th place. They remain unstoppable, 109, but they are behind Might of Hades by 1 game. 1 game separates them, and 1 game separates Might of Hades and Forge. Senji will be up in arms that he's still in 4th place. I don't know how he does it, but somehow he does. And well, and almost 2 series ahead, you have Valkyrie Knights in 2nd, and Green Phoenix, they rise to 1st place. So, well, there you go, franchise standings, very close at the top.
Yeah, indeed, a lot of very close standings, and also a lot of movement here after this entire week of just RSC action in general across every tier that we have. And man, a lot of results that has just changed up everything. And you know, I think in that week of action we've seen some beautiful clips, some beautiful goals, some beautiful whiffs and fills. So I say, let's go to clip of the week. Let's see all the submissions that have happened here, and let's see what crazy mechanics some of these players have. Man, those were some mechanical plays there and some interesting moments in defense, even though it's clip of the week. You know, Buddha, I'm gonna start with you. What were your thoughts on this?
Okay, so, I mean, you know, the clips are great. The clips are great, honestly. You got Reptic with a nice goal. We had Ozzy with a nice little double there in Prospect. You know, we had 385 with a nice goal for himself. Steb with a beautiful corner goal. But Steb, please leak. Who was the defense in that game? The double commit off the corner. That can't be happening. I'm just saying. But either way, it's a great goal. A beautiful goal. All the goals were. But the defense, it's definitely got a little bit of questioning for this week.
So, you know, I agree with you there. It's definitely an interesting moment. Kingsman, what were your thoughts on this?
Well, I love my boy Ozzy. What can I say? Absolutely brilliant double tap for Prospect, mind. Lowest tier in RSC, and they can still hit shots like that. Absolutely crazy, but obviously, Steb shot out of this world. Those two defenders, they were lacking a little bit, but he still managed to get the angle. So fair enough to him, and he's your deserved Clip of the Week winner this week.
Yeah, there you have it. Steb, just the winner of Clip of the Week. Beautiful redirect and read from that corner. Bit of a double commit from the defense, we have to mention it. But still, congratulations. And you know, let's run it all again so everyone can see just the mechanics of everyone here.
Let me stay with you. Even asking you just one night. I know I owe your life. But tell me 'cause we still have time. I can't say what I do, but do you feel the same, don't you? I think of you every moment. I think of you every moment. I can't say what I do, but do you feel the same, don't you? I think of you every moment. There's nobody else. There's nobody else. There's nobody else.
Man, it just Snapshot is obviously insane, but the rest, also the beautiful pinch at the end by Miller, just beautiful. But those are the clips of the week, and now let's move to the fail of the week, because we got a really interesting one. Let's just roll it and see what everyone thinks.
Huh? What? Jordan!
So, you know, Kingsman, what happened here? Because you were streaming, everyone could see that, but what happened in this match?
Right, it's a crucial game against Fearless, right? 0-2 down, you've got to get the win there, and Jordan, and also known as NW7, Peachy Boys rotate, and he pops it over him into our own net. He thinks he can get the clear, but he just pops it over our last man and into the net. And well, what can you say? He's master for a reason, the absolute GOAT in the reason. But they still remain top of the table, so I ain't complaining.
Well, you know, it's gonna be your fail of the week here, and you know, Kingsman, I wanted to spare you, but we're gonna watch it again. It's just too beautiful of a moment. Well, you know, I think we're just gonna take a little time here, because mechanics and everything is gonna be interesting. Because, yeah, that's very important. We have to save that one for later on, just to expose you, not only here on RSCast, but also just on our socials itself, to make sure that everyone can see how beautiful your face looked there on that stream. But, because, you know, I just heard we can watch it again, so let's roll the tape.
Huh? What? Jordan!
So, we were all wondering why it took a little bit to take the time to run the tape, but of course, Sauce, the beautiful streamer that he is, he made sure that we ran a poll, and you had two options: NW7's own goal or Kingsman's scuffed graphics. I think everyone can agree here, Kingsman's scuffed graphics wins the fail of the week this week, even though it's not part of the RSCast. So Kingsman, congratulations on another fail of the week to you. But you know, we'll spare you for the rest of the stream, because let's continue. We got the weekly awards to go to, because in every tier, obviously, we had a lot of awards to give away to all the beautiful players here in RSC. So let's move on to the Prospect Awards, and Buddha, I'm gonna give it first to you.
Well, starting it off, your MVP Hive with smack on 500 points per game, and your finisher is going to be Moro DK with 1.75 goals per game. There's a three-way tie with Hyper RL and Nature, so credit to them. But your striker is going to be Morak Conda from the Waifu Fan Club with 75% shooting accuracy, and your playmaker is going to be Jez with 1.75 assists per game. But your savior for this week is going to be Stork with 2.75 saves per game. The magical number for the savior on the RSCast.
Yeah, it definitely is a magical number, and a lot of three-way ties there. But let's move to the Challenger Awards. Kingsman, up to you.
Well, it's going to be Azos 15M with 486 points per game. He'll be your shooter. Oh, no, you're not your shooter. Your MVP for this week. And your finisher, three-way tie between Morve, Max Hansaran, and Dami. But Morve is going to take it from Team Serene. And your striker, the one and only Heki, with 57% shooting. And your playmaker, another three-way tie. Rowlinator, Lycos, and Steven Taylor on 1.25s. And a two-way tie on Savior. There's ties all around. Tom Baston 2.25 and Arconix 96 2.25. There you go.
Yeah, I agree with you there. 2 tiers done and already a couple ties. Let's move to Rival with Buddha.
Well, your MVP is going to be Nitch with 609.25 points per game. And he's going to make an appearance for finisher as well. It's going to be 2.5 goals per game for Nitch again. But your striker is going to be Slimy with 77.78% shooting accuracy. Nitch almost gets the 3-time there. But your playmaker is going to be, I don't know if it's supposed to be Splits, but we'll say how it is. Spillits is going to be there with 1.5 assists per game. Good for him there. But your savior is going to be Aiko. Makes a new roster change and gets a savior for this week with 3 saves per game.
And let's move to the Elite Players of the Week. Kingsman, take it away.
Well, your MVP is going to be Edgy on 567 points. Your finisher will be Bonesy. He got second in the MVP, but he gets first in this finisher. 2.25. Your striker will be Rapid Zer with 75%. And another Zulu player in Cynics, 1.75 saves. And your savior will be Nikolaj on 3.25 saves. So there you go. That's your savior for this week. And that's your Elite Players of the Week.
Yes, and let's move on to Master.
Well, the MVP, Harvey, with 543.63 points per game. Stepping up for the Master tier, but your finisher is going to be Flo. Moves back to his home, Shaman Esports, and gets 2 goals per game to put up those stats. And your striker, you love giving me the names I can't pronounce. I'm going to say, Bajani? I'm going to go with that, alright? 57.89% shooting accuracy. Clarky almost making the appearance there for the first place. But your playmaker is going to be NW7, aka Monkey Mode, aka First Beast, aka new name change this week. 1.38 assists per game. Beats out 314 there. And your savior, despite losing 11-1 in game 4, he will get 2.63 saves per game. And it's going to be Jeff.
Man, how many name changes can one player have and still claim Playmaker? But let's move to the Premier tier.
Well, Renshiro blows off the MVP, 688 points per game. That is a standpoint smashy, 2 goals a game with King JS and Jelly. Arrow will be your striker, 60% shooting. Stat will be your playmaker, 2.5 saves. And well, Renshiro's been waiting 4.5 saves per game. This man is on something else in the defense. 4.5 saves. That is incredible.
Yeah, that is... 4.5 is definitely something else. And those were all the players of the week in each tier. But of course, we have our team of the week. Buddha, I'm going to give it to you.
Well, starting off in the prospect tier from the Fearless Esports franchise, it's going to be Jez there with this beautiful goal explosion just taking up the screen itself. But in Challenger, it's going to be Rollinator from the Illusory franchise with also a goal explosion, just completely with the colour of contrast. But it's going to be from the Mischief roster, the fair play to him. But Mox, I mean, goes to Disorder. He's been putting up numbers already for the Disorder team. So Mox, well-deserved there, representing the rival tier. But from the Elite tier, from the Thanatos team, going to maybe looking for the rise, it's going to be Bon Dab there representing Elite. But for the Master tier, he's in the beautiful Merc, the beautiful thick car that you like to see. It's going to be Harvey from the Severance roster. But finally, from the Premier tier, a name that most of you will know, it's going to be Smashy. Yeah, just a classic, clean, simple car. Probably has a, probably a back mod decal on, but the Sanctuary representing, it's going to be Smashy for your Premier tier, and that is your team of the week for week number 5.
Yeah, some beautiful player awards and a beautiful team of the week. And yes, everyone does love and know Smashy. Used to be a player for the RSC Premier team, actually. Not the Premier team, I should say, the RLCS team. But, obviously, RSC wasn't possible without all our beautiful sponsors. Obviously, Sanctuary, Shaman Esports, Synthesizer Designs, Dead Dinosaur, all putting in a little bit of effort to make sure we have a prize pool for this season. Badass helping with everything they do behind the screen, and HyperX helping us with the giveaway. And of course, we have Gamers supplied us with the most beautiful merch, so make sure to head over to their site so you can represent RSC not only on the field but also on the street wearing that. It was the full RSCast. Buddha, Kingsman guest. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Well, it's always been a good night, and you love to see the clips, you love to see the awards. It's always a great thing to have. We didn't have Potter despite with his first loss of the season, but Tavish, it's been great to be alongside with you as always, and obviously the chat. It's always great for you guys to come out and hang out with the weekly roundup. So again, it's just a massive thank you to you lot, and as a community, just thank you. Making the RSC better season by season, and the people behind RSC making it better season by season. But it's been a good week as always. Kingsman, I'll leave off to you.
Well, what more could you say? Clips, fails, standings, all shaping up as we head towards week 9. And what can we say? It just gets closer and closer. And well, we're here at the desk excited. We're all here ready week in, week out to bring you the most exciting news. And well, it just gets more exciting week in, week out. So challenge us. Week 6, make it more exciting. Give us some cheers about bottom table teams. Make those big results against the top teams. And well, show us what you've got. We want to see some very close top 6 finishes going into week 9. But once again, week 5 was brilliant.
Yeah, and I agree with both of you. It's been a pleasure to sit here at the desk together with you just to recap every time the week and just everything that's going to be happening in the next week. And we have 5 weeks done, but we still have a couple weeks to go so every team can prove how good they are. And then I agree with Kingsman. Bottom teams, just step up, show everyone that you're still made for playoffs. But that's it from us here on the desk. We're going to sign off. Make sure to follow us on all our socials. Make sure to be active in the Discord so you can talk to us everywhere. But for now, have a good night and we'll see you next week.